In this lab, we will be looking at the absorbance of light for a sample of chromium in solution. And the very first thing that you're going to want to do for this lab is you're going to want to turn on your Genesis 10, and this is a Genesis 10 instrument, and the switch is all the way in the back, so you're going to want to search. It's going to be on the left side, and so you want to turn that on. While this is booting up, there are a couple of things you're going to want to prepare now as you're waiting for this to get started. First off, you're going to have to prepare solutions, and you'll have to create a series of solutions going from 0.01 molar chromium 3 plus to 0.05 molar chromium 3 plus, and that's for the second portion of the lab, where you're going to be creating a Beer's Law calibration curve. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. First, though, a little bit of basics about our instrument here that we will be using today. This is what is called a spectrophotometer. What you're going to be studying is the absorbance of light in your chromium solutions that you have prepared, in which a lamp, which is your light source, will pass through your sample. It'll absorb a certain amount of light, and then that amount of light that is absorbed, and in fact, we're going to be measuring transmittance. We're going to measure how much light is transmitted, and therefore we can determine how much is absorbed by your sample with a detector at the other end. So while this is booting up, also, you cannot open up, this is your sample holder, and you'll see once we get started, once it's finalized booting up, we'll take a look inside into our sample holder. So the very first thing that you're going to also need to prepare is a 0.02 molar chromium 3 plus solution, and this is what we're going to use for this video. And you'll also need cuvettes. So these are cuvettes, and a couple of things about the cuvettes that you'll want to be aware of is, remember, we talked about light being transmitted through your solution. And so the light has to pass through the cuvette, and there is a shaded side, and then also a clear side. So you want to make sure the light passes through that clear side of your cuvette, and this, again, is your cuvette. And so there is also a little arrow on the top, and that indicates where the light's going to be passing through on the clear side. So make sure when you're handling these, you handle the cloudy side, and also if you're not sure where the cloudy side is when it's lying down, make sure just to hold it on the very top. You do not want to have any fingerprints in the pathway of the light, because those can also absorb the light that you're measuring. So if you get fingerprints on the sides, that can absorb the light as well. So for this part, it's already started up. So let's take a look inside of our spectrophotometer here. There are six cells inside your spectrophotometer. One is labeled as B, and that's for your blank. And the blank we are going to use today is just water, distilled water. And then there's 1 through 5 for your samples. So B, you can take a cuvette. You're going to rinse it out using pure water. Rinse it out once, twice, and 3 times with water. And then I'm going to fill it all the way up till there's about a centimeter on the top. That's empty, so you'll fill up the cuvette, wipe the sides with a Chem wipe, and then what you'll see, you'll wonder, okay, well, which way do I input my cuvette? You want the transparent side to be facing you. If you're looking at the spectrophotometer, you want that clear side going backwards and forwards. And you'll also see there's going to be a small opening on the front and the back of the cell holder itself. So you'll place this inside, and you'll make sure that you can see the transparent side through the opening on the side of the holder. Okay, so now that's your blank. The next thing that you're going to want to do is input your 0.02 molar solution chromium. And I will again select a cuvette, and this time I'll use a pipette. And I'm going to, again, rinse off my cuvette here. I'll make sure to use my pipette to rinse off the sides. So I did it 3 times, and now I'm going to fill it again, just like I did for the water. When filling, you also want to make sure you get rid of any air bubbles, because that can also cause a problem when you're trying to collect your spectra. There's a bubble at the bottom, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to suck it up into my pipette. I got rid of the bubble, and now I'm going to wipe the sides of my cuvette before placing it into the sample 1 holder. Now this time, it's slightly rotated, so I again want to make sure that the transparent side is where the openings are at the edge of the sample holder. So I'll place that in like so. Okay, so now I have my blank with distilled water, my sample 1 holder, and that is the 0.02 molar chromium 3+. Now I'll close the sample holder opening, and the next thing you're going to have to do is you want to go to the option on the bottom where it says test. What we're going to do here is we're going to collect an absorbance spectrum. And so we'll click test. There are a couple options that will display on the spectrophotometer, and the option that we want to go with is survey scan. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the arrows, and we're going to arrow down till we get to survey scan. And then we're going to press enter. So this is the window that does appear. And what you want to do is you want to change some of the settings on this screen here. So test name, you're not going to change. Measurement mode, you want absorbance. Start wavelength, you want to start at 375 nanometers. And then you want to stop it. This instrument only measures 100 nanometers wavelength span at a time. So what we're going to do is we're going to arrow down. Our start wavelength is going to be 375. So 375, enter. Stop wavelength is going to be 475. Enter. And then you are not going to change any of the other parameters here. So then what you're going to do is you're going to select Run Test. And you're going to now collect the baseline. And this collect baseline measures the absorbance of your blank, which is water. So collect baseline, it's on the very left. And it'll take a minute or so to collect the baseline. Now that it has collected the baseline, we are going to go to the next step, where now we're going to measure our sample. And the measure sample is on the bottom right of the screen, and we're going to click the button that's here. So now it's going to collect the absorbance from the wavelength range of 375 to 475 nanometers. And what you'll observe is that you should see live the absorbance between the 2 wavelengths that you set, and you should start seeing a curve start to appear on the screen. Now, once that's completed, you'll observe the absorbance spectrum. This is an absorbance spectrum. And the next thing you're going to want to do is collect the data points that was recorded on your instrument. And you want to go to Tabular, which is the second button from the left. and you'll record in your lab notebook the wavelength and then the respective absorbances. So you'll record that all into your lab notebook. You'll notice that this only goes to 402, so what you're going to have to do is you're going to scroll down and you're going to record all of the data points into your lab notebook. Once you've done that, then you're going to press escape, and then you're going to want to go to here. It's going to go back to our survey scan menu option, and we'll go down to, again, the measurement mode is absorbance. And now we're going to go to our start wavelength at 475. Enter. And then we want to go to 575. We want the ultimate goal of our absorbance spectrum. We want to go from 375 to 675. So we're going to have to do this another time after this. So our stop wavelength is 575. Enter. We're going to run our test. And it says incompatible baseline, need to collect new baseline. What you're going to want to do is say accept change. Now you're going to, again, collect the baseline, just like you did previously. So I'll give that a minute to do the baseline. Now that it's collected the baseline, you'll go to measure sample. Okay, so now you have the absorbance spectrum from 475 to 375, and you want to record all that data just like we did for the previous range, and you'll go to the tabular setting again, and you'll record the wavelength and the absorbance as well. So then once you're done with that, you'll press escape. This is the last portion where you're going to go now down to start wavelength of 575, enter. Then you're going to go to 675, so 675 for your stop wavelength, enter. And then now you're going to select run test. Again, it says incompatible baseline, so what you're going to select is accept change. Again, you're going to collect your baseline. Okay, so now it's recorded the baseline. We want to go to measure sample. Now you can see, again, the absorbance spectrum in the display. You'll press tabular again and record all the values again in your lab notebook. So now, once you've done that, you're going to press escape and then escape again. Ask, has the test changed? Save. And we're going to say don't save. Now, the next portion of this video that we're going to talk about is creating our Beer's Law calibration curve.